Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I'm recording this on November 6th at around 12:30 or so. Uh, we have two videos that I'm going to show. Just recently, on France 24, the UN spokesperson started talking about the need to de-escalate in the environment. I'm not going to replay that video. People can watch that video. You know, it was a short video. He didn't say collective punishment in the speech. So, he did focus on all the civilian deaths. The problem is you have to root out terror. If you don't root out terror, no matter how much collateral damage that can arise from it, if you don't get the job done, it's only going to be worse later. So it's very simple. But I'm going to play two videos. One video is from Fox News. Both of them are from Fox News. One's about protests, and the other is inside Gaza with the U.S. military. This one is Yingst, the journalist that I've been following for a while. President Blaine. Let's see. I got problems, speaker problems. What's the problem?
Part of Israel. Now, the Israeli military now completely surrounding Gaza City and dividing the Hamas-controlled territory in two, which find
live in the southern part of Israel with the latest. Hi, Trent.
Breaking news here. As we speak, sirens are sounding in northern Israel, an indication the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah is once again getting involved in the fight. Here along the southern front, we've been watching throughout the day. The Israelis are using artillery units along the border to support their infantry troops inside the strip. I'm going to step out of the frame here so you can see the level of destruction in the northern part of Gaza. Despite the fact the Israelis have been operating in this part of the strip for more than a week, you can still see that smoke rising up. That's from airstrikes that are being conducted against different Hamas positions, despite the fact that the Israeli military tells us they believe most of the 241 hostages are being held in the tunnels beneath the northern part of Gaza. They're still hitting those tunnels, trying to get as many Hamas militants as possible. You can see in this video we captured last night along the border, huge explosions lighting up the sky. The Israelis using bunker buster bombs to try to get to some of those underground positions. All of this comes after Fox News was granted an embed with the Israeli military this weekend to get a first-hand look at the battles that are ongoing between the Israelis and Hamas. Take a look. You can hear that gunfire in the distance. The Israelis are trying to engage anyone who tries to ambush their forces. And the battle is street by street. It is urban guerrilla warfare as Hamas is popping out of tunnels and ambushing Israeli troops. Right now, we're in
just like what happened when I was saying during the Vietnam War. Now, obviously, in the Vietnam War, you're in the middle of the jungle. It's basically a desert. But it's still difficult. What the Israelis are trying, the IDF is trying to accomplish is extremely difficult.
With the Israeli military inside the Gaza Strip, these forces have been ambushed and shot at and lost more than 24 of their own soldiers. Still, they fight block by block in bloody urban battle. Their enemy, Hamas, guerrilla fighters popping out of tunnels and trying to kill as many of the Israelis as they can. Now take a look at this video here. It was released by the Al-Qassam brigades of Hamas from the same day in the same neighborhood, the Jordan neighborhood of the Gaza Strip. as we were embedded with the Israelis, they were engaging these militants, and you can see by this video, they're using rounds from RPGs that are specifically designed to penetrate armor. So even having APCs and heavy equipment inside, those Israeli forces are not safe as they push deeper into the Gaza Strip. We do know that overnight the Jordanians dropped some aid into Gaza using an airdrop that was likely coordinated with Israel, trying to get much needed support to Palestinians inside the Gaza Strip. All of this taking place is just seconds ago, we got another development out of Jerusalem, Dana, where we have learned that a border police officer who was stabbed this morning in Jerusalem during a terror attack has died. Another front opening up, not only in the north, the south, but also in the city of Jerusalem, an attack this morning. Dana?
All right. Thank you for all of the updates, the breaking news. Please stay safe.
Okay, so that is the embed with the Israeli forces. And that's just showing on how difficult the situation is for them, right? Those tunnels are throughout that whole region, and they pop up and then, fight and then drop back down. And when you don't know what the tunnel system is, it's hard to fight it. So the use of these bunker busters are really important. There was a news announcement last night saying that this part of the strategy that the Israelis are doing, they're not going into the tunnel to try to reduce the casualties on the IDF side. They're trying to basically find the entrance points and then blow them up. So that's a strategy. I don't know if that strategy worked in Vietnam or not. I think there was probably a lot to be learned from some of these tunnel rats during the Vietnam War on how do they fight that situation. But this is not something that can be done in days. This is something that's going to have to be done in months. Now here we go. This is the one that I really wanted to do, because this is showing you how crazy the liberals are. The blue-haired, ultra-liberal, stupid protests in America are. All right? This is in Washington, I guess during Saturday. So it's titled, Massive Anti-Israel Protests Marched Outside of White House.
Was in the tens of thousands, if not, as you mentioned, some estimates, 100,000 or more.
Do you think most of them were Middle Eastern, or do you think do you think it was a mix? Or do you think are they just sticking up for their homeland and then they live here? Or they've been radicalized for some reason?
Brian, I think there was a large number of pro-Palestinian Americans, and we talked to several people that were carrying the Palestinian flag that wanted to turn out because they're concerned about what they see happening to civilians in Gaza. However, as you saw in that package, what was most striking was the number of people that refused to condemn Hamas, as if what happened on October 7th was somehow justified, and that they somehow see the Hamas organization as some sort of freedom fighters. That was troubling. And the other thing that was troubling that we didn't really want to show is the number of swastikas in place and over the Star of David, equating Jewish people to Nazi Germany. Guys,
which is just nuts. It shows how confused they are when they have their minds. Thanks for working this weekend, Griff. Great report.
Oh, wait.
People who really rule you. Most of them are faceless bureaucrats. You've never heard of.
Who was it? I didn't. Oh.
UMass Amherst are on edge after. Today, Jewish students at UMass Amherst are on edge after a fellow student is arrested for assaulting a Jew on campus. The school confirming the incident, saying, quote, an individual approached participants and made aggressive and rude gestures. Later, this person returned, assaulted a student who was holding an Israeli flag and proceeded to steal and spit on the flag.
That's right, punched him. This comes as thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters raged in Washington, D.C. before descending on the White House, smearing the gates with red paint. They estimated at one point the crowd in Washington was 100,000 strong. Yeah, I wonder who paid for all that. Fox News correspondent Rick Jenkins was there. He joins us live from the White House, where that red paint is still there.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Morning.
That's right. There were tens of thousands of protesters here. They were chanting that controversial chant from the river to the sea, obviously calling for the elimination of the state of Israel, and they were demanding a ceasefire. Let me show you some fresh images. I just shot these coming in a few moments ago. The red paint, the handprints, on both sides of the gates here where you come in, still not removed. That picture taken just moments ago, you can see how much it was. And we were outside the White House gates when they were yelling, climbing the fence.
If a Trump supporter did something like that to the Biden administration, they would be arrested and they would be prosecuted and all this stuff, right? But they'll let these fucking ultra liberals that literally are supporting Hamas do this to the grounds of the White House. This is another problem with Biden. He's a fucking pussy. Not only is he a pussy, he ends up stealing from the American taxpayers by sending funds over and skimming and doing deals because he's in a high-powered situation and going through a bunch of conduit companies. The guy is corrupt.
Here's a little bit of what we saw. Take a look.
I guarantee you, the Palestinians, if they keep on going on the side of Hamas, are no longer going to be around.
Genocide Joe needs to halt his actions immediately and realize that he's going to face massive opposition from Democrat voters next election.
Is Biden a terrorist?
He is. His hands are red with blood. They're soaked in blood. The blood of the children, the innocent children of Palestine.
This is not Israel. This is.
I'll tell you, these people are just fucking crazy. They just look fucking crazy. Look at those eyes. These ultra liberals are fucking nuts. Absolutely nuts. And when that question from the reporter was, is this going to hurt Biden? This is the reason why. Biden doesn't want it to fully side with the Israelis. This is why Blinken is walking that tightrope. They're trying to placate to these crazies, and if you do that, they're going to eat you alive. They're eating themselves. They're eating their tail. Everything that I have been saying about this whole crisis with these ultra liberals is coming to fruition. Let's rewind that.
This is our
there's nothing. There's nothing like there's nothing like crazy liberals. Replaying.
His hands are
Face massive opposition from Democrat voters next election. Joe needs to halt his actions immediately and realize that he's going to.
Zionism is terrorism, as they say.
Joe needs to halt his actions immediately and realize that he's going to face massive opposition from Democrat voters next election.
Is Biden a terrorist?
He is. His hands are.
Look how crazy this guy looks.
They're soaked in blood. The blood of the children, the innocent children of Palestine.
This is not Israel. This is Palestine. This is our ancestral homeland.
Do you support Israel to exist? Or
They don't have the land right based on the covenant that has been written down in the Torah for thousands of years. Jews went into diaspora when the Romans destroyed the kingdom. And it has always been known that there was going to be another temple. It gets even crazier. The temple that was created, the first temple and the second temple, there was the tabernacle when they were roaming around the desert, right? But then the building of the first and the second temple, that was man-made. If the Jews did what God wanted them to do when they were in the desert, when God wanted them to do it, they would have gone into the promised land and not had to wander for 40 years. And what would have happened was that temple would have been actually brought down and divinely created. The third temple is this divine creation that was supposed to be the first temple. And so the first and second temple were meant to be destroyed because it was through man's hands. And that the Jews didn't, when you read the strict interpretation of this, the 40-year wandering and the building of the first and the second temple they were meant to be, but they were of human hands because they didn't follow God's demands at the very beginning. But when all this, during the Messianic era, all of this gets rebooted. And this is not for the Palestinians. That they don't have the spiritual harmonic to allow for the booting of this system. These people are crazy. But God, the thing is that God's letting us see the craziness. Let's replay this one a little bit.
Next election.
Is Biden a terrorist? His hands are red with blood. They're soaked in blood. The blood of the children, the innocent children of Palestine.
This is not Israel.
But what about Hamas? And what about those NGOs that were involved in literally putting a brand new hospital on top of a tunnel structure that was there in 2010? It's not the Israelis. It's not even Biden, whose blood of the children, their hands are soaked in the blood, as this guy's saying. It's Hamas. Oh, and it's the NGOs that allowed for that hospital to be built over that tunnel system. It's the Palestinians, the far majority of them, letting Hamas take root and dig those tunnels for 15 years. Crazy nut. And then you have a constituency within the United States that wants to legalize drugs. This is what happens when you have a society that is medicated, either legally or legally or illegally. There is a psychosis that is starting to take hold. These ultra liberals, they're fucking crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy. And God is letting us see, and they're given a chance. Okay, you're going to protest. What are you going to say? This guy's been given an extra chance. A news reporter from Fox goes up to him. He could have said something like, the civilians on both sides are getting slaughtered, and war needs to end, and we need peace on this earth. Instead of pushing this crazy agenda that will just keep on digging themselves into a hole, and they're going to see them eat their own tail. This protest is showing that they're going after the American establishment. Can you just imagine if something like that happened with Trump supporters and how the media would spin it? and how the press secretary would say that it's an insurrection and all this crap. I'm telling you, the best thing you can do is if you see an ultra liberal, you just call them off on it. You see this ultra liberal wearing a mask for no damn reason, call them off on it. If you see this ultra liberal with blue hair pushing abortion, call them off on it. You see this ultra liberal saying the destruction of Israel, call them off on it. If you see this ultra liberal saying to you that your religious beliefs as a Christian or as a Jew are wrong, call them off on it. This is a battle of civilization. So wake the fuck up.
Palestine, this is our ancestral homeland.
Do you support Israel to exist, or are you saying get rid of Israel altogether?
Get rid of it.
Israel is terrorists. They kill children. They bomb the hospital. They do a lot of things bad in Gaza.
You see Israel as terrorists?
Yes.
What's the flag? What's the message out here?
Well, career liberation, Palestinian liberation, liberation for everybody.
So, what about the LGBTQ rights not being respected in places like Gaza?
Well, people keep bringing that up. Maybe Hamas doesn't like queer people, but queer people like Palestinian people and would like them to be free.
Do you condemn Hamas, or do you support?
I'm telling you, God doesn't like what's going on within that whole ultra-liberal agenda. It's antithetical to the precepts of the Bible.
Their efforts.
Do you condemn 75 years of occupation? That's the answer. I am not going to condemn Hamas.
Should Israel exist?
There is no Israel. Israel is a fascist state.
You're going to breed Hamas when you continue to keep occupying the people. Hamas will be everywhere when you continue to keep occupying the people. That's it.
The U.S. points to Hamas in Gaza and say they're terrorists. Do you agree?
It's unacceptable.
And guys, I spoke to the Answer Coalition director. They're the group that organized all of this. His name is Brian Bednar. He's been doing this since the early 2000s. He says this was the largest pro-Palestinian demonstration that's ever happened in Washington, and he called Saturday's effort a sea change in public opinion against what he called an Israeli narrative put forth by Netanyahu that it was a justified war in Gaza. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Those are some shocking sound bites. Griff, given the fact that, the estimate is could have been 100,000 people in pro-Palestine rally over the weekend, how many of those people actually work for the U.S. federal government? And how many of them might actually work for the White House? Because I've heard things about how certain members of the president's staff are more pro-Palestinian than they are pro-Israeli.
That's a great question, Steve, and the answer is I don't know. However, I can tell you that Answer Coalition bussed people in. They had bus pickups. I was on the distribution list from cities like New York, Boston, Tampa, from Cleveland, Ohio, all across the country, more than 70 buses, many of which were sold out. There was one bus I had video of, I was playing over the weekend, of a group from Atlanta, Georgia, chanting from the river to the sea as they rode up. Answer Coalition started after 9/11, and they've been out here since George W. Bush started a war in Iraq, and it is a highly organized effort in bringing so many people here. As to how many people work for the federal government that turned out on Saturday, couldn't tell you, but it definitely was in the tens of thousands, if not, as you mentioned, some estimates, 100,000 or more.
Do you think most of them are Middle Eastern, or do you think do you think it was a mix? Or do you think are they just sticking up for their homeland and then they live here? Or they've been radicalized for some reason?
Brian, I think there was a large number of pro-Palestinian Americans, and we talked to several people that were carrying the Palestinian flag that wanted to turn out because they're concerned about what they see happening to civilians in Gaza. However, as you saw from that package, what was most striking was the number of people that refused to condemn Hamas, as if what happened on October 7th was somehow justified, and that they somehow see the Hamas organization as some.
Because they're a fucking death cult. Most of those people are ultra liberal and either want to have legislation or have actually practiced the legislation for abortion, meaning they're pushing agenda for these late-term abortions, and I bet many of those people aborted fetuses, aborted children. And then they have the gall to say the blood is on Biden. I don't even like Biden. The blood is on Hamas. Just like the blood of the children or the aborted children are the ones that were pushing abortion rights.
Freedom fighters. That was troubling. And the other thing that was troubling that we didn't really want to show is the number of swastikas in place and over the Star of David, equating Jewish people to Nazi Germany. Guys,
which is just nuts. It shows how confused they are. What they have their minds. Thanks for working this weekend, Griff. Great report.
So that's, the latest on Fox. I think this just shows another example. What I've been saying, that the tail is going to be eaten by the head of this ultra liberal protest group, and God is showing they're going after now the president. All right, and he's not really that. I wouldn't say that he's that pro-Israeli. I mean, he's friendlier to Israel and Netanyahu than Obama. That's for sure, right? But the reality of the situation is that the Democratic Party is worried about that protest, and that's the reason why you saw Blinken starting to walk that tightrope about, we got to worry about the casualties, and he's doing all these flights to the Middle East to have these discussions in the different countries. The administration is worried that the ultra liberal is going to go after and not support Biden, and that will lead to, they'll probably go more towards Kennedy. These people won't vote for Trump, but they may, vote for a third party, just enough to split the vote, just like what we saw with Ross Perot and George Bush Sr. that led into the usherance of Clinton. Clinton wouldn't have won if Ross Perot wasn't involved as an independent candidate. It would probably have gone to George Bush Sr. Same thing's probably going to happen here, and that will help us as Trump supporters to make sure that Trump gets elected. So this division that they're having is actually going to benefit. Now, maybe this is like God's plan to get someone that has some balls into the White House to get this stuff done. We need someone that is forceful, because that region doesn't know anything but force. You have to embarrass them. I was going to say this in a previous video and I forgot. I remember playing a video somewhere and it said, and I don't know if I recorded it or I was just doing research and seeing what I was going to pontificate on. And there was this one guest on a talk show, and he said that the Muslim community only knows one thing, and that is they don't want to be embarrassed. All right, you have to embarrass them. And so you're seeing this kind of like God is having the snake eat itself and embarrassing them. They're lying to the international community, saying things that are not taking place. More deaths than actually it happened, especially with that misfiring rocket that hit next to the hospital. It didn't even hit the hospital. When the next day, when the pictures came and it was in the parking lot, it was like more close to 50 people that died, not 500. So even the mainstream media blew it out of proportion. But it's just that God's showing, you know, they're getting embarrassed through their misrepresentation of things. The hospital being built on top of already pre-existing tunnel system. There was an orchestrated effort to put the hospital above the tunnel system. You know, so yeah. Now, I'm not saying that IDF is perfect or not. And there's going to be collateral damage and targets that they thought were one thing that were something else. And, you know, unfortunately, that's part of the fog of war. People die. But the thing is that there's a habitualness about this Palestinian-Hamas conflict that you're seeing that side is constantly trying to demonize the Israelis and the IDF, and Netanyahu and the American government. And of course, America's not all really white. I've been very critical on American foreign policy. But the thing is we need to get the job done. And this is beyond human, this is way beyond human guidance, human strategy. This is, the divine is moving these forward. That's my take on it. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver products that I have. I have structural nano silver lozenges in sweet menthol and green apple, a 20 count and a 200, a 20 count for sweet menthol and green apple, and a 100 count for the blueberry and honey and lemon drops. Get my multivitamin from my store. This is a great product. It's easy to digest, and you add that to the protocol. Lignans, right? Boosts up your immune system and helps with your hormonal health for males and females. This isn't a powder. You take it every day. Silver gel. I have 2 types of silver gel, and you basically use them the same way. This happens to be in a dispenser, but you can use this as a skincare product or help with healing cuts, scrapes, minor burns, and it will neutralize pathogens. You put it around your mouth, put it around your nose, lightly coat your nostrils and your ear, lightly coat your eyes, and it will neutralize pathogens. I have a great toothpaste. It doesn't have any fluoride. It's a structural nano silver toothpaste. It'll whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, neutralize pathogens, reduce gum inflammation. And I have 2 great bars for deodorant. One's in citrus and the other is in peppermint lavender. And this is a very high quality product. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas, all natural. It doesn't have any aluminum in it. This is a deodorant. You'll use it every day, but it also helps to detox your body. And you'll be amazed at the high quality of this product. You're not going to be able to get a deodorant bar that has this dual function of, you know, being a deodorant and helping with detox. So please take this product, try it out. It's in citrus, and the other scent is in peppermint lavender. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the health products that I offer. I have a lot of stuff. Follow my protocol. Reduce inflammation, reduce reactive oxygen species by getting C60. You reduce the inflammation by taking the turmeric and the ashwagandha. Neutralize pathogens by taking structural nanosilver products like the gels and the liquids. That is a great way to slow down your aging and take you towards a healthier you. proper sleep, proper exercise, proper diet, proper supplementation, and exercise your brain. Thank you for listening to my channel. Please subscribe to all my channels. I have 6 channels, 3 YouTube channels, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. And also, please help with my news coverage by donating on Stripe or PayPal on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, or through Buy Me a Coffee. Links are in the description. Thank you for listening. Please share the links and have a nice day.